The second perfection is sila, aka morality, one of the pillars of a good life. I want to start by saying that if you don't have a basic ground in moral virtue, it will be harder to meditate. There are stories in the Buddhist scriptures that describe monks with psychic powers. Believe it or not, as soon as those monks had unwholesome thoughts, those powers would wane. Of course, we are not talking about psychic powers right now, but I wanted to stretch the importance of morality. This is also not a warning or a threat saying that if you are not doing this or if you don't take this seriously, you will eternally burn in hell. There are no such things in the scriptures, not at least in the Buddhist scriptures. That being said, we often think of morality as a self-righteous thing or something for goody-goodies. We might see it as a prison. We live in times where the freedom to desire is at its peak. But the freedom to desire is not the same as the freedom from desire. Something to think about. But I digress. Discipline is freedom. That's a quote from Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL. It's interesting to see how rules, regulations, and routines can actually give you freedom. Try it out. Try to live a reckless life for a whole week without any rules, discipline, or structure. You'll go nuts. There are three different sets of rules for different kind of people within Buddhism. 5 precepts for lay people, 8 to 10 precepts for meditators, and 227 precepts for monks. You might see the first set of rules and already be scared. Seeing the third set, you probably thought to yourself that being a monk is not for everyone. And you're right, you might think that there's way too restricted of a life to live, but for those of you who have met monks, you have seen that a lot of them are the most serene, peaceful, and happy beings you'll ever get to encounter. Bruce Lee used to say that it's not about what you can add, but what you can subtract and simplify. By following sets of rules, you are actually making your life simpler and less burdened by unnecessary unwholesome side effects and byproducts of being quote-unquote free to do whatever you want. The 5 basic precepts of Buddhism are pretty simple and straightforward. Not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, not to indulge in sexual misbehaviors, not to indulge in intoxicants. Indulging in any one of those will tend to make your life heavier and restless. It will also be much harder to feel peaceful, joyful, and fulfilled. The Buddha used to say that one who follows the basic precepts lives a happy life, for he lives in knowing that he does not harm himself or others. And worst come to worst, when he dies, he will be at the very least reborn in the heavenly realms. Try it out. Heavens seems like a worthwhile goal, right? All jokes aside, give it a go and see if your life is not bettered through that little bit of discipline. Remember one thing, and I heard this from a monk once. He said that if 5 precepts are too hard for you, just take 2 precepts. First one is not to harm yourself, and the second one is not to harm others. Something to think about. For more in-depth practical knowledge about meditation, check out ebook The Lazy Way to Get Your Zen On. Links in the description box below.